We'll call this meeting of North Frontenac Council to order. First item is a public notice regarding the recording of this meeting. Please be advised, North Frontenac Council meetings are recorded. By attending a public meeting of council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Members of council, staff, delegates, and attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior or comments. Next item is a traditional lands acknowledgement. We begin this gathering by acknowledging and celebrating these traditional lands as a gathering place of the First Peoples and their ancestors who are entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. We do so respecting both the land and the Indigenous people who continue to walk with us through this world. Today, the Township of North Frontenac is committed to working with Indigenous peoples and all residents to pursue a united path of reconciliation. Item 3, the approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Regent, seconded by Councillor Good. Be it resolved that Council approves the agenda dated July 25th, 2024 as circulated.
Any comments? Votes? All in favor? Passed. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in this agenda? Seeing none. We have item 5, a business profile of NOS Tree Service. That is attached to the agenda here. Are there, let's read the resolution first.
Moved by Councillor Regent, seconded by Councillor Good. Be it resolved that Council receives for information the business profile of NOS Tree Service provided by Paul Teal, member of the Economic Development Task Force.
Any comments on this profile? Seeing none. Thank you for that. Item 6, there are no presentations. Item 7, we do have a delegation. Is Anders Carson online? Yes.
Hello.
Hello,
Can
Anders.
you hear? How you doing? I'm starting video. Can you see my there?
We can.
Hello, council. Hello, your worship and council. I'm in my car because we had a storm last night and we still have no power in my house. And we're going on almost 20 hours, so that's not super fun.
Where are you located?
I'm just about an hour north of Kingston. So we had a tornado warning last night and it knocked out power in our area of 600 customers.
So you're around Kona or Parham or somewhere?
Near Perth, Smith Falls area, in that area.
Well, good luck getting it back.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Anders Carson, and I'm the VP for the Ontario branch of the Canadian Postmasters and Assistants Association. And I just wanted to reach out to you because I know that my understanding is that the Ardoch post office has temporarily closed and they're trying to look for a new home. And I want to thank council for putting up signs, trying to find a new home for it in the community. And it's a challenge with these. I don't know if you are familiar with the different levels of postal service that they have from Canada Post. And a group office is usually one that's in somebody's home or in somebody's place of business. And that's where the one in Ardoch was located, in somebody's home. And now that he's retired, we're trying to find a new home for it. Otherwise, the customers in your area are going to have to go all the way to Sharbert Lake, which is okay on one side of your township, but for those that are a little bit further away, that's a hassle, driving all the way to go pick up parcels if they're too big. So I just wanted to share that in the past, I've reached out to other mayors and council, because I used to be a councillor in our area for the Township of Rideau Lakes, and we were successful in finding a home for our post office where it was in the same building as the fire department, our library, and then the post office, which is leased from the corporation to Canada Post. Now that is a great office, and it's much more difficult with a group office to find a home. And I don't know if you have any properties that you might be able to section off a little piece of it in order to post the quote unquote the post office going forward, so it wouldn't have to go all the way to Charlotte Lake to get their parcels. And as I said, we've thought outside the box, and we've had success. Actually, there was one in Southern Ontario. There was one community hall where they portioned off a portion of the community hall, and it was a community hall that was firemen's. It was like the firemen's hall, and the firemen realized that this was part of what they wanted, that they wanted in the community, and they didn't want to lose the service to go somewhere else, and they partitioned a portion of the community hall. So that was thinking outside the box, and that was well done on council. It's hard to find a solution, but I just wanted to say that if there's an appetite for that, I'm willing to help help broker and try to find I don't work for the Canada Post. I work to try to keep a federal presence in rural communities across Ontario. I've been all the way to Moosonee, I've been to Moose Factory, and now Ardoch is one that's, when someone's been a postmaster for a long time and then they retire, it's hard if there's not a succession plan thought out, or at least trying to begin. It's difficult to keep it open. So I just wanted to say that you have my name and my number, and I'm willing to work with council if you can think of something outside the box too. Thank you very much for your time, council. You can see I'm not one of those, but we found solutions in the past before, thinking outside the box.
I'll ask for questions now, and I'll start with one comment that I have. You're talking about finding a location. My impression is that the primary difficulty will be finding the individual, and the finding the location is a secondary difficulty. I've heard stories over the years that it's not a well-paid position. I know the current one is a split shift kind of situation. I've certainly heard comments about the rate of pay and the level of service that's required. You don't represent Canada Post in this, so you have no power to negotiate or anything like that. But
I do have a little bit of power to negotiate, because if we find somebody, if council knows of somebody or someone in the community wants to put their name forward, I do realize that it starts off at a lower rate of pay, but if you stay with it for X number of years, you get up. It's like a grid system, which I'm sure you have in the township of North Frontenac. You must have a grid system where people move up on the grid depending on how long that they've been there. Same thing with Canada Post. And in our current round of collective bargaining, we are asking for a greater percentage increase for those group offices like Ardoch, getting a larger percentage. And we've had success in the past, and we're hoping that with this latest round of bargaining that we are not, I know when people think of Canada Post, they think of CUPW, the walkers, but we're very different. CPAA, we've never been on strike. We've been an association for more than 100 years, and we try to find solutions. And primarily, our offices are in small rural areas, and this is, even though the rate of pay at the beginning isn't high, it will enable the person, if they say yes to it, to have benefits for the whole family, which not every job out there has.
I asked for questions. Mayor Lichty.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just to be clear, first of all, Mr. Carson, thank you for taking the time to address council. Just so you are aware, John is correct. We've had several conversations with Canada Post, I in particular. Canada Post went out for job applications, looking for potential candidates, and they identified 6 for interviews. We were going to host the interviews when they were at our facility. And when the candidates or the applicants were offered the chance for an interview, all 6 declined. So they're going back out.
Okay.
So it's not an easy situation.
No.
We've also talked to the local small mall where there are numerous postal boxes. If they'd be interested, if they have the space, and it's a cost thing, and it's also people expect in rural areas more than they need to give. My store is closed, but let me bang on your door. I want my parcel, sort of thing. So
Okay, I
there's
get it.
you already know all this, I assume, but it's not that we're sitting on our hands. We're trying, and we're not done with this yet. But so we thank you for your position on this.
Well, thank you very much, Your Worship, for your time. And as I said, if the next batch, if there's one who's faltering because it's not enough money, if they sign an agreement, then our association can negotiate with the corporation to get a higher rate of pay for that leasing allowance. So I do have some power there. Yes, I do have some power.
My last question, Deputy Mayor, is what does this job pay? And does it include the facility? I'm asking Mr. Carson.
Okay, you're asking me. My understanding is that it starts at 1840.
How much?
So it's 1840, 18.40, and it starts with benefits for the whole family. So if it is somebody in somebody's house, and it's you get your foot in the door in Canada Post. That's what primarily, Your Worship, 92% of our association is women. 92%.
$18.40 an hour?
Correct. An hour to start. But it goes up if you're on the grid for 5 years, it goes to 25.
Okay, and does that include the facility, or is that on top of it?
That's on top of it.
Okay. All right.
That's on top. Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Hermer.
Yeah, I saw the application that was presented for the job description. There was something less than $1,800 a year to go towards rental lease and all the additional expenses.
They will get. Can I answer that or no? May I?
Go ahead, Mr. Carson.
Okay, sorry, I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. Sorry. 18. You're correct. 1,800, but they can also apply for a $700 for additional support for the post office. That has to be in by April, and that's another, like quote unquote benefit that we have with the association. So sometimes they don't sell the whole picture. Yes, it's 1,800, but on top of that, there's another 700 that can go towards, whatever that they need to put it towards. If it's in somebody's house, that's different. If it's in somebody's place of business, that's different. It's not taking as much out of your own pocket.
So my understanding from the mayor is that an appeal has gone out or a request has gone out for more applicants after the 6 declined. And how is the township involved in this process? Mr. Mayor.
John, we offered up our services as best we could. We used our website. We've talked to several providers in the area. And, we're just trying to be supportive for the people of North Frontenac and the adjacent areas.
But basically, this is being spearheaded by Canada Post, I assume.
Yeah, it's their job.
Okay, and Mr. Carson, you're available to negotiate perhaps or bargain on behalf of a successful candidate. You're basically representing the union position, but you're not CUPW.
Correct. I am not CUPW at all. I am CPAA, completely different animal. Completely different animal.
Understand.
Yeah.
Are there any further questions? Well, wish us luck in finding somebody.
I do, but thank you very much for your time, Council. And as I said, if you think of anyone and you need some, they need a little bit of support, where I know it's low at the beginning, but it does go higher, and we're trying to negotiate for more.
Well, post offices have been at 4 or 5 different locations since I moved here, so I'm sorry to see Ken going.
Yeah, I think we all are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Time.
Thank you very much, Council. Thank you.
Moved by Counselor Regent, second by Counselor Good, be resolved that council receives for information the presentation from Anders Carson, Vice President of the Ontario Branch of the Canadian Postmasters and Assistants Association, regarding the closure of the Ardagh Post Office, and thanks Mr. Carson for his time spent today.
Thank you.
Favor.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Passed. Thank you. We are on item 8, which is the adoption of the minutes of the last council meeting. What I missed.
Moved by Counselor Regent, seconded by Counselor Good, be it resolved that council adopts the minutes as circulated of a regular meeting of council held June 27, 2024, and a meeting of the Personnel and Audit Committee held July 3rd, 2024.
Comments on those minutes? All in favor? Pass. Item 9, business arising out of the minutes. 8.
Moved by Counselor Regent, seconded by Counselor Good, whereas at their meeting on November 24th, 2023, council passed resolution 48623, receiving for information the Public Works Manager's administrative report entitled Cashwackamack Waste Site, update regarding permits, and that council authorized the Chief Administrative Officer to sign the required land use applications for the use of Crown land. Therefore, be resolved that council receives for information an email dated July 3rd, 2024 from the Public Works Manager advising the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry provided the land use permit for 2 new monitoring wells and access roads adjacent to the Cashwackamack Waste Site, and that council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting authorizing the CAO to validate and sign the land use permit. The council instructs the treasurer to take the initial fee of $2,066.82 from the operating contingency reserve fund.
So Darwin, my understanding is this large amount is just 1 year and subsequent years are much cheaper.
That's right, Mr. Deputy Mayor. There's a $1,700 initial fee, but then annually it'll be $75 including tax.
Any other comments about these very narrow corridors? It's just wide enough for 66 feet or something or less.
So the permit cover, we're drilling 3 wells. They were done last week. 2 of them are on Crown land. And then this just includes the bush road, the access road to access those wells. So there's no specific width designated.
Any other comments? Roy?
Sorry, just remind me again, why are we adding these 2 new wells?
So with the monitoring a year or so ago, there was indication that there may be an impact off-site. So we dealt with Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. Came and developed this new layout for wells to monitor off-site migration if there is any.
All in favor of this? Pass. Item B, 8-9D.
Moved by Counselor Regent, second by Counselor Good, whereas at their meeting on July 3rd, 2024, Personnel and Audit Committee received the Treasurer's administrative report entitled Investment Report for information purposes and instructs the Treasurer to provide a verbal update on the market at the July 25th council meeting, this proposed investment breakdown. Therefore, be resolved that council receives for information a verbal update from the Treasurer on the current rates for potential investment of the GIC that is maturing in August.
We anticipate this verbal report.
Okay, so just sort of high level. So we do have an investment policy. So within the policy, we do have sort of maximum and minimum targets. So we have the GICs, government bonds, corporate bonds, and equity bonds. Currently, we do only have GICs invested. That was a decision at the time when we first sort of got back into investing. I've reached out to Chris Clayton from Nesbitt Burns, who handles this for us. He is recommending that we don't go ahead with equity bonds still at this time. Just concerns with the US election and things that has caused some volatility in the market. Based on the proposed reinvestment of the funds maturing on August 6th, I would propose, or what he's laid out is that we look at 253,436 for corporate bonds, 253,436 in government bonds, and 263,794 in GICs. So what that would do is put us within our targets per the policy, because the target for equity bond is minimum of 0. So we are still at 0. We're within the targets for the other 3. So the only other caveat is that the bond rates, so from the 1st of July to now, has gone down slightly, and they are slightly less than what the GIC is at the moment. So I guess looking for direction from council, if we want to stay within our policy and spread out between the bonds and the GICs, or just reinvest in GICs again.
So right now, what you're suggesting is more or less an equal 3-way split of 200 something thousand each.
That's with the funds that are maturing in August. We still have 1.7 invested in GICs. So this is just the money that's maturing in August.
So the total amount that's going into non-GICs is still a very small percentage.
Yeah, it's
Far more invested in.
yes, in GIC.
So a GIC is a guaranteed income, and you know that before you buy the GIC.
Correct.
How does a bond fund differ? Do you know the return before you purchase the bond?
Yeah, so he has provided me with the rates. And they just sort of have different maturity dates based on what he's provided as an option.
So why would you buy a bond rather than a GIC? Is it because the bond rates often go higher than GICs?
Well, I think also with the bonds, we can cash them. So the GIC is locked in. So our money is
12
locked
months?
in. Well, depending on the time frame. So the ones here are for 2 years. So when we originally invested, we kind of did 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, just to have sort of a cash flow if we needed it. The bonds, and why it's kind of in the policy, is that the bonds you can invest, but there is an option to cash out, but then you're risking possible, a loss depending on when you're selling.
Did you have a comment, Wayne?
Wayne, you put your microphone on?
I just asked what kind of interest rate we are making on this
So the
investments.
Good question.
For the GIC, the reinvestment would be 4.75%. The bonds range from 3.85 to 4.59%.
The reason I'm asking this is my own personal experience with Nesbitt Burns is they charge a lot on the overhead side of it. So we actually, unless that's already calculated in there, we're not actually, it's already in there.
That's already.
Because I just say I pulled my money out of there and we just went in with the Bank of Montreal, and I'm making more interest rate with them than I did with Nesbitt Burns. So that's just another option we should be looking at.
Okay. Yep.
Any other comments? Right.
I was going to ask the same question that Wayne did about the interest rate. I know with the RBC, they were at 5% for GICs, and now it's 4.6.
So curiosity, Kelly, we're limited on what we can invest under the municipal act, right?
Yes, specifically more so under the equity, like it does have to be a Canadian. There is very specific guidelines on what we can and can't invest in.
But we have no equities.
No, but even our bonds, we can't invest in US, generally US.
So the real question you're asking is, does council want to make a comment on these upcoming maturities, different from what you're suggesting?
I guess I'm looking for direction if we want to stay with just GICs, which is sort of outside of what our policy has been laid out as, but that we did that previously, or if we want to try and get in line with our policy, then we would put some money into bonds. So I guess I'm looking just for that type of direction.
I guess my own comment would be that the bonds allow you to cash out without penalty, whereas the GICs don't, so that's an advantage. Fred?
Yeah, one comment I have, at the time we got that GIC was probably a good rate at that time, right?
Yeah, they were like up over 5 to 6% at the time.
And it's gonna mature soon, so can we do something different with it?
So we can. So this is kind of what I proposed based on our policy. If you really, if you want to start looking at more riskier investments and things like that, I'm just not an investment professional or comfortable sort of outside of what we've set as a policy. So really as council, if we can just have them cash the stuff that's maturing August 6th. We can just take the money and then I can investigate other options and look at, other sources.
What would those other options be? Equity bonds, for example?
So, I mean, if council has a concern with Nesbitt Burns, then I can look at other investment professionals. Council can look at contracting and having someone kind of manage the portfolio for us in more detail.
Personally, I'm happy to see you make recommendations and follow them.
So, Deputy Mayor,
Yes,
Kelly, you said you invested or we invested for 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years. This is the 2 year maturity. So there's
Yes,
a
it
3
is.
year coming next year.
Yes.
Is it about the same financial value?
Next year is 600,000 and the year after, because the stuff from last year was reinvested, is 1.1 million. For August.
So at some point in time, we always have money available to us that's maturing within roughly 12 months max from when we may need it.
Yes.
And a GIC, given the current rates, we can change. Well, it's a 2 year rate. I don't see us investing in equities. I think the township has worked too hard over the years to put their money out there, unless it's for a short term. I don't know. I kind of like just the idea of GICs. I'm not much of a risk taker though, so
we're not supposed to be much of a risk taker,
I know it's not our money.
right? Wayne, did you have a comment? So we need to make a recommendation. Mickey.
Well, I know for long-term investment, it's the stock market. For short-term, it's GICs.
Stock market did real bad yesterday, but it'll be different tomorrow. So we don't have equities. So we're on the right track there. We need to make a suggestion to the treasurer. Wayne.
I think Kelly's been doing a good job over the years, as long as I've been here, or she's been here too, but so I think we have to trust her. She knows more about investing than what I do, or likely presume anybody does in the room. And but we want to keep our money safe, like Mayor said, is we've had to look after this money for quite a few years, and you never know when we're going to need it, but we still can invest it for a little longer time, up to a couple of years or whatever. And we got some a few different ones that we can always fall back on.
So my understanding, Kelly, is that you're recommending a GIC, government bond, corporate bond.
So that's one of the recommendations. And the reason I make that recommendation is just to try and get us in line with our policy. Brought a policy to the council, we approved the policy, but we're not actually kind of working within the policy at the moment. So it was just so that we could try and adhere to what the policy is.
I propose that we vote on that as we've just described it. So let's vote all in. How do we do this?
Hang on, John. You only have to do. We're just receiving this for information.
Yes.
So the so the
That's the way the resolution's written.
yeah, it's because that's out of the PNA. So the GIC matures August 6th. So I need direction before August 6th.
Now is as good a time as any.
So I was hoping for direction today.
So how do we handle this, Jared?
So Kelly has put together two recommendations. So there's $817,180 that needs to be reinvested. Her first option was to put $253,436 in corporate bonds, $253,436 in government bonds, and $263,794 GICs. The second option she's proposed is to put the $817,180 in GICs only and not invest in the bonds or equity at the time. So council has to decide which one and then vote on one, and if it gets defeated, vote on the other.
So we have two options. One is to invest it in three instruments. And it's been said by the treasurer that's closer to the direction that we've chosen, and the other option is to put everything in a GIC. Let's ask for a vote. All in favor of the first option? For the three. Looks like that's it, Kelly. Thank you. Communications A, section A of the communication, item 10.
Moved by Councillor Regent, seconded by Councillor Good. Be it resolved that council receives for information section A items of the clerk's administrative report entitled Communications of Interest.
All in favor? Received. Communications item B, B1.
Moved by Councillor Regent, seconded by Councillor Good. Be it resolved that council receives for information a letter dated June 28th, 2024 from the Township of Tonabee, South Monaghan to the Minister of Labor, Immigration, Training and Skills Development regarding the importation and safe use of lithium-ion batteries. And that the Tonabee South Monaghan Fire Chief advised council that the increased importation and use of non-original equipment manufacturer aftermarket batteries are presenting a significant increase in fires and explosions, that these aftermarket batteries are not under Ryder Laboratories of Canada certified, but can be imported into Canada without any regulations. Unlicensed persons and locations can store and modify lithium-ion batteries without regulations, which is providing dangerous conditions within a community. Now, the Township of North Frontenac supports the Ontario Fire Marshal's program to educate citizens on the danger associated with lithium-ion batteries and encourages every municipality to actively promote safe practices for the use of lithium-ion batteries. And that the Township of North Frontenac calls upon all levels of government to enact regulations for the importation, sale, storage, and use of non-OEMC or ULC lithium-ion batteries. And the council instructs the clerk to provide this resolution to the Minister of Labor, Immigration, Training and Skills Development, Scott Reed MP, and the Township of Tonabee, South Monaghan.
I brought this forward. I was hoping to have a comment from the fire chief, but I think he got called out on an emergency. So I don't know if this is an issue in North Frontenac. It is an issue somewhere else. I was hoping to get a comment from Adam on whether this is an issue here or not. I don't see any danger in supporting this letter.
I don't see a downside, John.
We have a comment from Councillor Fowler.
Yeah, I was just wondering how anybody can tell the difference between an aftermarket and not an aftermarket.
I don't know. That's why I was hoping Adam would be able to educate us and he told me he'd love to talk to us about this, but something happened. Mickey,
Well, it would have to be stamped ULC approved, wouldn't it?
I don't know. Wayne,
Let's just go ahead and vote on it to support it.
all in favor? Passed. Next item, B2.
Moved by Counselor Regent, seconded by Counselor Good. Be it resolved that council receives for information an email dated July 5th, 2024 from Janetta Meany, Manager of Legislative Services, Clerk, County of Frontenac, advising Eastern Ontario Regional Network and 2B Developments are requesting the assistance of all Eastern Ontario Ward and Caucus members in endorsing their localizing communal servicing project, Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation Housing Supply Challenge Initiative, and a letter of support or interest was provided for the adoption of the communal servicing to unlock both housing and land, and that the Council of North Frontenac supports this initiative and authorizes the mayor to sign the letter of support.
Don't see a downside to this either.
There's an upside to this, John.
Tell me about it.
This is the Municipal Service Corporation expanding.
With the support of CMHC funding.
Yeah, we got $1 million, right? Well, we got 100,000 for the corporation, which we didn't have when we started. There's more coming. So we want this to expand much as possible.
So a vote, all in favor of this endorsement? Passed. We are on to item 11, admin reports. Item A.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Shore Road Allowance Closure and Sale Bylaw Pathrick and Williams. And that is required by bylaw 2023. All that part of the Shore Road Allowance adjoining part of Lot 9, Southwest Range, Geographic Township of Clarendon, being Part 4 and Registered Plan 13R20840 Big Gull Lake, and all that part of the Shore Road Allowance adjacent to part of Lot 27, Concession 8, Geographic Township of Barrie, being Part 1 and Registered Plan 13R3301 Marble Lake, be declared as surplus and sold to the adjoining owners. Appraisals of the properties are not necessary as these are Shore Road allowances, and that council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting to stop or close and sell portions of the Shore Road allowance.
In favor? Passed. Item 11B.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, second by Counselor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information the Manager of Community Development's administrative report entitled Plevna Playground required repairs due to car incident. And the council directs the treasurer to transfer the $15,000 deductible from the operating contingency reserve fund. And if funds are recouped from the driver's insurance company, they will be put back into the operating contingency reserve.
This $30,000 to fix a problem that you can't really see. Could you describe this to us, Brooke?
Yeah, for sure. So the inspection that was completed by our playground inspector. So there was some wearing, some stressed metals, stressed plastics, but they can't, an immediate health and safety threat isn't there, but over time it will continue because it has been damaged. So that's why they're recommending replacement of the 3 parts of the playground that were impacted by the car.
I guess we have to go ahead with this. Any comments? Wait.
How old's the playground now?
I think it's about 5
I'm not
years.
sure on the exact date of the installation. Yes.
Did you have a comment, Wayne?
Yes, so we are going for the insurance company for this money.
Yes, yes, Kelly can explain it more, but we are going to attempt to recoup the money.
So we have put it through the insurance company. We do have a deductible of 15,000. Once it's been completed, then they will go to the person's insurance company to recoup as much as they can. Generally, in these scenarios, though, they will take some depreciation off of the full cost. So I don't anticipate we'll get the whole thing, but hopefully we'll get some.
In favor of this resolution? Thank you. Pass. Item C. Culvert replacements, emergencies.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the Public Works Manager's administrative report entitled Emergency Culvert Replacements, Roads 506 and 509. And the council approves the 2 culvert replacements on Road 509 at an estimated cost of approximately $30,000 and funding for the 3rd emergency replacement recently completed on Road 506 at a cost of $35,000 for a total of $65,000 to be taken from the Infrastructure Sustainability Reserve Fund.
Do you have any comments, Darwin, on why this happened now, or was it just bad luck?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the rains and the significant storms we've been having. So the closer to Snow Road, that one was initiated by flooding resulting from Beaver Dam failure. And sorry?
Ponds up beside Gemmell Road.
I guess they would be if you went in Gemmell Road from the site. They're like northeast of the KMP. There's a series of ponds and really small lakes there. And the other one was just adjacent to the office here. It's just pipe was worn out, and again, significant flooding, and we started to lose material from the roadbed through the deteriorated culvert. So that one we did last week.
Thank you. All in favor of this? Oh, sorry, Councillor Fowler.
The one north of Snow Road, was the big problem have to do with the culvert not being able to control the amount of water, get the water away from it, so the water went over the road instead?
Yeah, that was part of it, and the condition of the culvert. So that one we're proposing, we're gonna go with a larger culvert there. And the other problem there was once it filled the ditches, it flowed and went through the ditch to an adjacent area that at one time must have had a culvert, but it isn't evident now. And even if we found it, the condition would be poor as well. So we're adding a culvert in to drain that area as well.
In favor of this resolution? Passed. Item D. Here's an interesting one. People want to use their credit cards at the desk.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information the treasurer's administrative report entitled Offering Credit Card as a Payment Method Online and in Person. The council approves the following fees and fines to be paid by credit card, with the third-party processing fees to be paid by the individual. Schedule C building, Schedule D Crown Land Stewardship Program, Schedule E planning, Schedule G cemeteries, Schedule H fire department, Schedule I roadside ditch alteration, Schedule J civic addressing, Schedule K construction of entrances, M recreation vehicle license and disposition of land, O line fence viewings, P license agreements, Q refreshment vehicle license, R license for shipping containers, and ask for use of township equipment, as well as parking bylaw fines and FIPA fees. The council approves the option to pay the following fees by credit card, where the fees for using the credit card payment is paid by the township. Schedule A, administrative and finance. B, dog tags, license and animal control. F, waste management, landfill tipping fees, and L, community hall rentals, community hall booking.
So this is, people are asking to be able to use their credit card to pay these bills. So the question for us is whether to absorb in some way the admin fees, which are what, 3 or 4% out of Visa card, Kelly?
It's, I think, between 2 and 3%. Some processing fees.
Is there a fee for debit card use?
So we do pay a small fee, but it's
Quite a bit smaller than.
quite a bit smaller. It's 35 cents a transaction kind of.
So as a consumer, when I go to pay a bill with my Visa card, I personally just find it really annoying when I have to pay a separate fee for it in. And I realize that a merchant builds it in to his overhead. We can't do that. So you seem to be telling us here that it would cost us about $9,000 a year if people paid all their bills.
Yeah, so if everyone under that schedule from 2023 paid by credit card, so assuming every single person paid by credit card, that's would be the cost.
But every person doesn't pay by credit card, so in reality, it would be somewhat less
Yeah,
than
we-
9,000.
I would anticipate some won't, but a lot might go that way. I mean, we don't know. We don't offer it at this time. We do offer, when we have for a number of years, people pay their property taxes by credit card through a third party, and I'm surprised how many people use it.
And we currently do charge them,
And they pay the fee to the company. And
they don't come to the desk, they pay through a third party.
Yeah.
Online or something?
yeah,
I see. Wayne,
Big-
did you have a comment? Button. There we go.
Yeah, I thought, it says right here, the third party will process fees to be paid by the individual.
That's for the current tax payments. But we're proposing that people be able to come to that desk and use a credit card to pay all these things, including taxes.
but all the sort of the top list, they would pay the fees associated with it.
Because they're big items.
Right. And then the reason I say to the third party is we're not going to collect the fees and then the third party bills us. They just kind of take it off. They take it right off the top. So we get, if they owe $100 for their building permit, we get the $100 and the company we're dealing with takes the fee.
So the question is, do we do this or not? What are the options for doing this?
So it's an additional cost that will be added to all taxpayers if we were anticipating. So I mean, it'll just be an increase to the budget for next year. I mean, the other option is if you're really not comfortable with charging fees, then we probably, as we work through, we start looking at revising our fees to just anticipate that little bit of increase.
Roy?
You may have answered the question already, but why are we distinguishing between the first list and the seconds? Is it just cost?
So cost, so the admin, I mean, it's photocopying and very low price item dog tags are, $5, $10.
Big items, little items?
Yeah, the waste management, we only send out a few bills. So everyone's paying at the waste site. We won't be able to offer a credit card at the waste site. And the community halls, you just recently approved a slight increase, which included the anticipation of the online booking system, which would include online credit card.
How would credit cards be used at waste management sites? Would they have mobile devices?
So for the waste management, it would just be at the counter for anyone that's been
Oh,
invoiced,
Okay,
or if they want to buy a bag tag at the counter.
So Deputy Mayor?
Yeah.
So the question of waste management, like I took a trailer to the dump of refuse to the dump on Saturday. Bill was $30. I paid it in cash, got a receipt. Could I have just told them to send me an invoice?
No, you can't. We only allow invoicing to businesses at this time. Because I
Okay.
think it would be a fairly heavy burden to invoice everybody that comes along and try and actually collect the money.
I don't know, if you charge a fee on top of it, it's the person's individual right to use a credit card then, and they have to know that if they use it, they're gonna pay this. It's that simple. If they don't like the extra fee, they can use a different form of payment.
Correct.
so for example, if they were paying a $2,000 tax bill, they could pay the $2,000 with a credit card, and township would also charge them 3% of the 2,000 in addition.
So they pay the processing company, the 3%, the fees. But they have the option of mailing in a check. They have an option of coming to the counter and paying by debit. So, I mean, there are other options to pay than credit card. But
When I send an e-transfer for my taxes, do you get charged? Is there a fee for that or?
No.
Wayne,
I'm not in favor of anything of, any of the rest of the taxpayers paying for a few that's gonna use a credit card. I'm not in favor of that.
well, I guess I have to agree with you. I find it annoying if I'm using it. Like I paid a dental bill with a Visa card, and I know that the dentist absorbed the 3%. No comment was made, but we don't have the option of billing and overhead costs. So, and with all these other options available, I think I would have to agree with you. If they want to use a credit card, these are big items, they have to pay. So we go on. Was, is there an option? What does it say?
So the,
Do you have a number, Kelly, of how many people actually use credit cards? Did I not in the report? Or?
so we don't know because we don't offer
Right.
any payment by credit card at this time except for taxes. But I would say we probably get 100 a year that pay their taxes, but they do pay a fairly significant fee.
So for them, the people who are currently paying taxes with a credit card and paying online and paying a fee, their option, they'd pay the same fee at the desk, wouldn't they?
If you pay Revenue Canada, they're gonna, with a credit card, they're gonna charge you a fee on top of it, and they're quite upfront about it. I don't see why we're any different. And I agree with Wayne, if we try and bury this inside the fee, that's one way of doing it. But if you have a sign that says whether it's online or whatever, use a credit card, we're going to charge you an extra X percentage or whatever it is. You make the choice.
And maybe just to help out with the decision, we actually, Tara's like, can we legally do it with cemeteries? And they've actually had changed it and laid out processes just to make sure that it's upfront, that people know ahead of time, but the BOA actually have laid out and so that I assume it's a standard with cemeteries, just as an example.
Did you already read this resolution? No, we all know what it says. Fred.
A lot of these items on the schedules are, we have to charge HST on all of them.
Not all of them, but like building permits don't have HST.
Taxes don't.
But I think it's very convenient for people to be able to pay their fees and it's just who's going to absorb it in the end, right?
So sorry, Mickey.
Well, to take a different hat and speak as a private citizen, I don't feel it's my responsibility to pay for someone else's convenience.
Right. So you're in favor of the credit card user paying the fee. All in favor of the recommended presentation? Well, to pay fees as outlined here. I don't vote on that. That passed. Is that the most contentious item on the agenda today? Item E.
moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved that the committee receives for information the deputy clerk assisted to the planning manager's administrative report entitled 2024 Ontario Association of Committee of Adjustments OCA Conference.
I have to say, I read this as well as I could, and I was impressed that I didn't understand a lot of terms. Glad somebody does. All in favor? Passed. So we're on to item 12, external committees, local boards. Item A.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, second by Counselor Udall. Be it resolved that council receives for information the notes of the Economic Development Task Force dated July 15th, 2024, and the council approves the Festival of Stars exemption from bylaw 6617 to prohibit camping on the municipal property to permit tent camping only at the Astronomy Park, September 6th to 8th, 2024, conditional upon the North Frontenac Amateur Astronomy Club providing proof of insurance and security for the duration of the camping and layout of the sites to be approved by the manager of community development prior to the event.
Anybody want to talk about camping at the site? No objections. Good. All in favor? Oh, we have a comment.
Yeah, we've never allowed, there's a sign up that says no camping on the site. So are we charging for the site camping or are we just letting them roost overnight there?
No, the intention was to allow people to stay locally for that one event. We were not going to charge for the camp.
Is this one event going to continue on for more than one in the future or?
Well, it'll be every year, but it's only 2 nights. We'll probably have to make this same request every single year. So you'll get a chance to turn it down.
I got a problem. No, I have a problem with it because I know there's lots of, and I know we're still working on Airbnbs and that, but I know of one person that in particular's got Airbnb and they rent it out for astronomers.
Yeah.
Here. So if we start allowing camping there, I guess it's likely gonna be house trailers and trailers and
Well, no,
Just tents?
we're specifying tents only. No,
Tents
no,
only?
yeah, it's very restrictive. We're not allowing any camping vehicles whatsoever. So the person has a choice to make between a short-term rental and a tent. I know where I go.
I just wonder if could possibly, if there's a bunch of noise that people that's just across to the east of that site that lives there permanent
Neighbor to the east is,
this way.
yeah, I know who you mean. Don't know his name, but
I don't know his name either.
good relations so far. Told. I certainly do not anticipate any problems with this. Do you have a comment, Stephanie?
I've been hearing for the last couple of years that people would like an opportunity to camp at this event. And I think it's fantastic that the people involved in this came up with this idea. And I would suspect it's not going to turn into a party of some sort. I mean, these people are coming here to look at the stars in the dark and the quiet. So I think this is a fantastic idea and probably will bring people back to our area. I realize this is already a popular event, but this is going to make this even better. So I'd like to see everybody agree with this as an opportunity.
There's a bit of a safety factor here too. These people stay up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning and then if you're supposed to drive somewhere. Could be.
And Deputy Mayor, there is security on site and you're not going to see 50 tents there. You might see 5 or 6. If you got 10, it would probably be a lot. You've been there with me. And so was Fred. You know, there isn't that many people. They stay for a couple hours and they leave. And if the weather's bad, they're not going to stick around in a tent on a piece of flat ground. So I don't see a real downside to this. They can get the insurance and they agree to clean it up. Let's give it a 1-year shot and see what it's like. If it doesn't work out, they're responsible for the site and we don't do it again.
Do you have a comment, Roy?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great idea. Gary's the one who came and approached me about this idea. They're hoping to actually get more people coming to this because then they don't have to take down their telescopes, everything. They're staying there. You're not going to get any noise. These people sleep all day, right? They watch all night and they sleep all day. And they're going to have security there. And like the mayor said, if it doesn't work out this year, then we won't say yes next year.
Treasurer.
I can give an update on the insurance, because they were contacting the insurance company that we work with. And the facility there now fits under our facility user program. But because of the size and such, there is a fee of $250. So yes, we also need to counsel that they would pay us the fee of the $250.
That's not in the minutes, but
Yeah, that's new today. That's
Uh,
new as of this
so
afternoon.
we'll take this
so-
one step at a time. All in favor of accepting the minutes? Passed. We have item 13. Sorry?
I think we need to. remove it.
Oh, to include the $200.
Yeah, because it says providing proof of insurance. Based
So
on
they'll
that.
actually be paying us. It's going to be under our facility user program insurance, but
Mhm.
there is,
So it'll be up to the EDTF to find that money by some means in the future.
so this is for the Astronomy Club, who's a separate
Ah.
organization. They are not a committee of council, so they will
Okay.
pay the $250.
That's right. So this event is not sponsored by the EDTF, it's sponsored
No.
by the Astronomy Club.
Correct.
Okay, so we passed 250 or whatever for them.
Yes.
And they wouldn't provide proof of insurance, right? They would.
Yeah, well, I already have
Facility
it.
insurance.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
insurance.
So
And that
Tara's
the
writing this
North
down.
Washington Club.
So Kelly, sorry, sometimes you're hard to hear.
No,
You know,
sorry.
it's because of the wind, my internet connection's a little unstable. Because they are a committee of council, excuse me, or the township,
Not
they
the
can go
Astronomy
under.
Club.
They're
Pardon?
they're not a committee of council. This
Okay,
is the
that's true.
Astronomy Club, which is a separate organization. In asking about this event and talking with our insurer, that piece of property or that facility they have now put it under our facility user program, that people use when they're using the community halls. Just however, that because it's not something that's been in our program before, there is a fee of $250.
So the astronomy club has to pay $250 to us.
So they would pay the $250 to us.
Thank you.
And here it is. Whoop, turn it on.
So the conditional upon the North Frontenac Amateur Astronomy Club being covered under the township insurance policy as a facility user, and the fee of $250 shall be covered by the Astronomy Club, and security for the duration of the camping and layout be approved by.
I'm not sure if we need it in the resolution, but the insurance company is very specific that there be no alcohol in the event, which I don't anticipate, but
Astronomers don't drink.
we don't want that in there.
Baby starry-eyed. So that's the COVID talking, guys.
So, here's again a little bit.
No alcohol.
It's permitted. Okay.
All in favor? Passed. We are on to council portfolio. Open my
Okay.
list in front of me.
So I'd like to begin by thanking Councillor Hoodle for his generous donation at Summerfest and the innovative way that he managed to make it go as far as possible. And I'd like to thank all the staff, the volunteers, Brooke, and the others for making just a great day. I was there, probably should have been, but it was really well done. And I was telling Brooke, I was standing up on the hill when I parked the car, and you overlooked the flat where the tents were and the lights are flashing. It looked like a small town fair, and it was just great. So anyway, on to the portfolio report. County of Frontenac, we had a county meeting, And they proclaimed open farm days from August the 16th to September the 30th. The CAO report, they put forth a municipal tree canopy policy, which we approved. Councillor Fowler and I were really wary of it because we didn't want it impacting our forestry without our forestry industry without having a discussion. But the information is what's in the official plan already, and they just turned it into a policy. So that's a go. The Canada Community Building Fund, that is the old gas tax. The original agreement expired in April, 10 years. The new one goes from April the 1st, 24 to March 31st of 33. Our allocations for the first 5 years, 24, this is at the county level, 921,000 and $38, 25 and 26 each year, 959, 414 and 27, 28, $997,791. But funding will continue to be required or to be used for community benefits, but there would be a greater focus on promoting housing. And as there is a housing needs analysis required, Frontenac doesn't need to do this because based on the 21 census, we had less than 30,000 residents across the county. And that was the cutoff. So in general, though, we're expected to prioritize projects that support the growth of the housing industry or the housing supply. They came up with they requested a report for energy conservation and demand management, and they're looking at their buildings. And one of the things when I read it was energy management's a wonderful thing at a reasonable cost. It should never be applied at any cost. And when you go through some of the items that the consultant was recommending, unless that item is coming to its end of its useful life, there's absolutely no way you should be spending $45,000 to save $1,800 over a 20-year lifespan. So that was interesting. Entered into a partnership with Frontenac Business Services, value of $5,000 to do a study on the needs analysis of the medical facilities in Frontenac County. We adopted an updated charter for economic development. K&P Trail. Originally, there was discussion. This was before our time. John, you may remember this. There was discussion about each township receiving $100,000, so $400,000 in all, to install washrooms at trailheads. So Central Frontenac wants to install a new washroom facility at the beach up by the caboose in Charlotte Lake. And they've asked for the $100,000. And it set off a few alarm bells. So we basically told staff to go away and come up with a policy. Like, where are we going to put a washroom? What are we going to do with $100,000? And anyway, so there you go. Paramedics, Gail Chevalier is retiring. She's the current chief. The new chief is the former deputy chief, Mark Gowdy. And as I mentioned earlier, EORN has an agreement with CMHC to promote the Municipal Service Corporation model to, once again, promote the delivery of affordable housing. And out of that, we were entitled to $100,000 And that money, plus an additional 20 if needed, so 120,000. And that money is to develop the base documents and templates that we are going to need that will be shared with other municipalities if they want through EORN. So we're going to have to pay ourselves to do this anyway. So essentially, there's $100,000 coming into the kitty to help us develop Municipal Services Corporation. And EORN's applying for more, so we'll see where that goes. Lake associations, I've had AGM meetings with East End Big Gull Lake, Buckshot Lake. Thanks, Roy, for inviting me. Where else have I been? I think that's it for now. Oh, I've been to the Alzheimer's Society in Northbrook, which covers the entire Northbrook. Sorry, it covers Addington Highlands and North Frontenac. And that's about it.
Thank you. Councillor Good. Councillor Regent.
So the Lakelands Family Health Team, we don't meet again until September. But Jan and Margaret and I will be doing some training soon for governance training because I'm helping them with strategic planning. The long-term care and social services portfolio that's on here is essentially the Land O'Lakes Community Services. So September 30th is their next AGM, and I've been invited to that. And Dr. Weldon.
Well, that's good.
Dr. Weldon will be our guest speaker. He will be here at the end of August, officially here. Oh, that's going to be a great meeting. I've been to the Mazenod Property Owners Association, Lake Association AGM. And there's some work to do now with that, considering their hot topic of getting rid of the milfoil has seemed to have blown up a bit. The Kashawakamak Lake Association meeting was great. Councillor Hoodle and I were there. I thought that went really well. It's a nice group of people. They seem to be quite concerned about what goes on in their lake, but that was a really nice meeting. That went really well. And the Police Services Board, I've done my necessary background check, et cetera, but I don't have an update for you there. That's a bit slow moving, but I sort of expected it. But keep you posted.
Thank you. Councillor Hudel.
Not much to say. We've been busy at a couple AGMs throughout the area. The next MVCA board meeting is not until September. We take a break a little bit in the summer. And I was at a combined board and technical advisory committee meeting on Monday for the Municipal Service Corporation. And that's about it.
Councillor Herbert. Councillor Fowler.
Yes, as far as the EOTA goes, they're off for the summer. We'll have a meeting on September 12th. The Lake Associations, I attended the Palmerston Lake Association AGM. At that time, I directed Andrew Waywell, the president, to I sent him the budget that we give them by email, and he was going to distribute it to his membership. So they've been off big part of the summer, but our next presentation will be at Sharbert Lake. And I had the date written down there. September 11th, I believe it is. And it'll be at the Legion, and they'll be supplying a meal. And that's all I have for my portfolio.
Thank you. And all I have to report is I attended 2 Lake Association meetings, Toronto and Sunday Lake. The major concerns these groups both have is quality of gravel roads. Well, at Sunday Lake, they're all concerned about South Levant Road, of course, but aren't we all? I told them I didn't know how much we'd be able to do in 1 year because it's an enormous project. And they all seem to understand that. But there are constant requests for more grading on gravel roads. It never ends.
Yeah.
But they're cooperative people. Good to talk to.
Deputy Mayor, before we leave this topic, Stephanie just jiggled my memory. Both of us were at the Mazenau Lake Association AGM, and their primary topic was the Eurasian milfoil. And it's something we need to be aware of because Eurasian milfoil is, we know it's in Malcolm Lake, it's in Big Gull, it's in Browns Bay, I think, as well. Is that in Cache Lake, and a few others. But the people at Mazenau, well, they've addressed us before or presented to us before at council. They have a fee or a figure of about $120,000 to treat it over 3 years. It's the $100,000 up front. And they may be coming to us. We don't know yet. We suspect there will be. And Bon Echo Park's involved. You know, at the end of the day, if we're going back to Roma, it might be time for a delegation to go talk to MNRF or the Ministry of Environment or both of them about this.
Fred.
Just to get back to the Lake Association too, Palmerston Lake had problems with Eurasian milfoil as well. They have a couple big patches that are in the lake. And also one of their other big concerns is the development on Gravel Point. But that's
Of course
still
it is.
being resolved.
That's still being
Yeah.
commented on, comments on comments.
Exactly, yes.
Stephanie.
Just to give you a little update on the MPOA for Mazenau Lake for the milfoil issue. So there's a small group of people that are all part of that board, including the lake steward, that are kind of centered around this Eurasian milfoil problem. I don't think they're going to be asking the township for a donation. I think at the very most, what they would be looking for is help to manage that fund. But I will know more about that after tomorrow. They are putting together a group of people to raise the $125,000. But I don't suspect they'll be asking either township to donate to that. I think they would just really like some help with managing what they do with it. But I'm having a chat with Vern Haggerty tomorrow, who's the vice president of the board, to discuss this, because it's as I said earlier, it's turned into a thing outside of that group. So I'll let you know.
Kara.
Just to let council know, the MPOA has requested to be a delegation at the September 12th council.
They also presented drone footage. We've seen photos of the south end of that lake in the past, haven't we?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of milfoil at Browns Bay. And actually they had a little impromptu meeting last Sunday at 11, which I was unable to attend. But they didn't need me there for that. The amount of milfoil in that lake has grown exponentially since last summer. There is a large chunk of it at the main beach at Bon Echo. They are reaching out to the park to assist. That may or may not include Friends of Bon Echo, I don't know. But the amount of milfoil in that lake is concerning. So this is a big problem for that group. They are all volunteers. I had a chance to see some of the comments online, a lot of which was highly inappropriate and actually misleading. So Vern is aware of that. And I would suggest that if anybody has a concern or knows someone who does, that Vern is the guy to speak to.
Thank you. I guess we're under item 17, which is public forum. Is there anybody online who would like to speak? Certainly nobody here. Well, that's why we're having meetings at 5 o'clock, so the public can come. Darwin.
Deputy Mayor, if I might comment on the concerns with gravel road maintenance. This, it's really challenging. We're getting a torrential downpour really every week. So we're out, we're graveling, we're grading. Last week we're looking at the forecast and just kind of held everything because it was forecasting the tail end of a hurricane on Thursday. So, and it turned out it wasn't as bad as anticipated, but we were going to turn around and lose, any repairs that we had completed. So that's the good news is we're not getting any dust complaints. And you'll notice with our grading as well, we're getting a lot of washouts along the edge of the hard tops as well. So you'll notice throughout town, we're grading the hard top shoulders, trying to get rid of the berm and getting rid of the water so it doesn't travel along the roadways. And doing quite a bit of that between guide rail posts as well. So we hear it's been a really challenging month with heavy rains. So
Roy?
I just want to comment on that, Darwin. I get a lot of calls about the roads and that, and I've got your back, and I think you're doing a great job. So keep it up.
Deputy Mayor, I've seen the crews out. They're doing a great job. Well done, Darwin, to you and your staff.
great, thank you.
So torrential rain events seem to be a little more common than they were in the past. I drove through Sharbot Lake about 6 p.m. last night. I've never seen such heavy rain. We missed it here. But that was the band where the tornadoes developed. Just an incredible amount of rain. But here we are. So, Stephanie?
Did you want to ask the chief about the battery question before it's too
Um,
late now that he's returned?
Yeah, this was a communication item, Adam, where council agreed to support a letter from South Monahan, I think it was, about poor quality batteries, non-ULC, non-original equipment. Is that an issue here at all that you're aware of?
Deputy Mayor, through you, I don't believe it's a major issue currently in our community, but I do believe it's not that far away. Seeing lots of things like children's toys, smaller lithium-ion powered devices that are being sold at quite a reduced cost compared to the ones that do have the proper certification. So to answer your question, I don't think it's a huge problem here yet, but I do believe in the near future it will be.
It's not something you see affecting larger capacity batteries like automobiles and electric motorcycles and so on.
Deputy Mayor, through you, and then larger city settings, and more urban areas, it definitely is. They're seeing a lot of issues happen when residents are transporting their lithium-ion powered devices on public transit. They're transporting them on elevators to their 12th story condos and apartments. Those sort of things are where the bigger city departments are starting to see they're starting to see a trend, and it's not a favorable one. I can't really speak to if it's certified, non-certified, ULC, non-ULC. There's a thought based on the training that we've done here and been a part of, that it potentially could be.
Thank you. Brett?
If there is an item that catches fire and it has these batteries in it, can the battery make the fire worse?
So Deputy Mayor, through you, the fire is, if an item catches fire, it's going to be a fire regardless. The problem with, and that, like I said, the trend is building and developing with these lithium ion sources is, when they catch fire, they go into thermal runaway. And depending on the size of the battery dictates, the intensity of the fire, the explosiveness of the pack itself and the fire development. It really depends based on data I've seen and research that's been generally done within the Ontario Fire Service, that it really truly depends on the size of the battery. You could have a situation where your cell phone catches fire, minimal impact, it's going to burn out in whatever time it takes. The same applies to an EV, but keeping in mind that it's got a huge battery, so that time, the intensity, the off-gassing, all those things are relevant to the size of the device.
I just have one more question. If these batteries catch fire, are there any harsh chemicals that would come off it when they're burning that might harm somebody?
Deputy Mayor, through you, yes, that's the big concern. There's the off-gassing that occurs when these batteries go into thermal runaway is a lot of times more deadly than the fire itself. In terms of car world and EV world, to give you an example, back in November, the suggested distance for a hot zone was 30 meters. Now they've increased it to 100 meters based on continuing research, based on information, data gathered by larger departments and these groups that are really studying these things now.
This is a man who just bought a Tesla. Thank you, Adam. I guess we go into, what's next here? Introduction, reading of bylaws.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, second by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved that leave be given to the mover to introduce the following bylaws that have been circulated to all members of council. 2024-52 to close, stop up and sell shore road allowances, and 2024-53 to sign the land use permit with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, Kashawakimak Waste Site Monitoring, and that these bylaws be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
In favor? Thank you. Pass. And adjournment is next, item 21. Oh, we have a closed session, of course. Didn't know that.
Moved by Councillor Hermer, seconded by Councillor Fowler. Be it resolved that council retires to closed session at 6:27 p.m. to adopt the following closed minutes of a council meeting held June 27, 2024, and a meeting of the Personnel and Audit Committee held on July 3rd, 2024, to discuss personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees, specifically appointments to a task force, and to review requests under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Privacy or Protection of Privacy Act if the council, board, commission, or the other body is the head of an institution for the purposes of that act.
And then we'll take a 5-minute break before going into closed session. Five minutes. Session. So there's a rise and report following the closed session. Who reads this out? Where is it?
Isn't there?
Council has risen from closed session in which we adopted the following closed minutes of a council meeting held June 27th and another one held July 3rd. We discussed personal matters about an identifiable individual relating to a new task force. And third item, we reviewed requests under the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act and received a report and passed it. Had a motion that we have to vote on? We have a turn? Affirming bylaw.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, second by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-54, being a bylaw to confirm all actions and proceedings of council for its regular meeting held July 25th, 2024, be read at first, second, and third time and finally passed.
In favor of that motion? Passed. And if we can adjourn at 6:50, 6:49.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, second by moved by Counselor Fowler, second by Counselor Hermer. Be resolved that council adjourns the meeting at 6:49 PM until August 22nd, 2024, or at the call of the chair.
Thank you, everyone.